Hello and welcome back to Cryptocurrency Trading, Mastering Scalp Trading Strategies by Wealthy Education. This is Module 3, Chart Pattern Scalping Strategies. And the first pattern we'll talk about is a double top or a double bottom. Pretty straightforward. Basically, what you have is the market rising on a double top twice and then failing. It does not have to be to the exact penny, but something close generally works. And a double bottom is the same thing. It's just the bottom of the market seems to be down there and can't break down through it. Sometimes you'll hear them referred to as M and W patterns, respectively. You can see why. So there are a lot of different ways to trade this. Some people jump on them right away. More specifically, though, and I think more common, so like on a double top, on an M pattern, once you break down below the bottom of the letter M, you put a stop loss on the other side of the pattern. And then, of course, the exact same thing on a W pattern. You put your stop loss back here, and you enter on a break of that little middle arch, if you will, or in this case, arch, in this case, valley, the middle part of the letter. So, yeah, pretty straightforward way to trade. It's pretty common. The great thing about a double top or a double bottom is everybody else sees it as well. So that in and of itself gives it a little bit of, standing in the trading community as far as analysis is concerned. You can see a double top here. So the question is, how do we determine where we're going to get in and get out? Well, we can just break down through here. You can break down through this M pattern, then you get short your stop losses up here. Question is, where do you target? Well, the first support level is right there. Now, having said that, you can see that it worked, but the risk to reward was a little less than desirable because you were actually risking more than you were gaining. And that is a major problem with scalping. So you have to be particularly interested in how the markets are behaving. So here's a double bottom here and here, or for that matter, even here and here. But I'm just going to use this. Notice the volume picking up. You take out the top of the W pattern. Right here, this arch, volume's picking up. So where's your natural target? Well, your natural target is going to be this swing high. And that's a little bit more like what you're looking for. Let's see. Who else can we look at a chart of? Let's see, Woo. Another thing that you need to pay attention to is double tops can happen in very small environments. Like it doesn't have to be stretched out. So here is, I would even go so far as to say that's a triple top. But focusing on these three candles, you can see where breaking down below this candlestick here actually violates the M. Natural target is going to be down here. That's exactly where we went almost right away. That's about a 1-to-1 ratio. That's doable. Here's a pretty clean double bottom. However, I would point this out. They don't always work. You can see that we had to reset. So look at this. You put your stop loss underneath this low here. You finally take out this up here. It takes a long time to break above there. You get involved in it, it comes back down here, and your stop may or may not have gotten hit, but then eventually it does work out. So keep in mind that this is a process. It doesn't always launch in your favor. And, it's worth noting again, this is a 5-minute chart. 5-minute chart's a lot noisier than, say, like a double top and a double bottom on a weekly chart, for example, is much more important to pay attention to. Let's take a look at Ripple. Ripple double top here. Doesn't break down until we get all the way over here. But it does, in fact, work. So let me go ahead and zoom out here. There's your double top. we finally break through all of that. You can see we grind sideways. Where would you expect the market to go? Somewhere down here based on support, and that's exactly what happens. It's about a 1.75 versus 1, so that's doable. You always want to risk less than you're hoping to gain. That way you put the odds in your favor, as most traders will abide by. Here's a double top. That's a big, massive double top. Down here, we break through it somewhere around here. We do pull back into it, and that's not uncommon. And then we continue the move down. There's support right about here. And you can see that's exactly what we hit. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to show some examples of actually using this with some other indicators and exactly how I would have played it out. Hello and welcome back to Cryptocurrency Trading, Mastering Scalp Trading Strategies by Wealthy Education. This video is an example video of how I would go using double tops and double bottoms to scalp the market. So you'll notice a ripple here. We have this double top that we talked about in the explainer video. You'll also notice that we do have support down here in this M pattern, or this double top. Breaking down below, it does have the market entering a bearish phase. You can see that clearly the top has been major resistance previously. And of course, we do have several indicators that will tell us quite a bit about the attitude of the market, as it were. So let's put the 20 and the 9 on, and you can see that they cross here and they are breaking down. Notice that we bounce back up. This is a retest, and we cross there. And that in and of itself might have been a reasonable indicator as to where we were going anyway. MACD crosses the 0 line right here as well. We get a cross over here. We come back, we cross above the 0 line and then back through it. So those are all signals. Not much in the way of divergence per se. There was a little here. You see price going up, histogram going down. Let's go ahead and take a look at another chart. Let's do Ethereum. So let me zoom out a little bit. Kind of an interesting, kind of longer term forming double bottom here. You could call that a double bottom, or you could call the whole thing a double bottom, maybe even a triple bottom if you want. Just 3 attempts. Clear support and resistance right about here. So you, of course, want to see the market rally. You can see that the MACD crossed here and the histogram started exploding to the upside with volume. So that makes a lot of sense as a potential trade. Your first stop, as far as like targets, would be here. So your stop loss is here or there. Now, if you don't wish to be as aggressive and you want to be a little bit more conservative to protect your capital, you can also put a stop loss below the most recent dip. Either one of those would have worked in this scenario. And after that, you begin to say, can we get up here? Obviously it doesn't happen right away, but it does eventually happen. So this is a situation where you could have taken some profit along the way, or perhaps even move your stop loss to break even before hitting that. A lot of candles here, but really not a lot of time. We're talking a few hours. So not necessarily a scalp if you're waiting that long, for the second target to be hit. But, it is what it is. The first target got hit within about 10 minutes. Let's take a look at Litecoin. Nice double top up here in an area of previous resistance. There's your support. Moving averages are spreading out. Now, another thing worth noticing is that when we broke down and then rallied again, we couldn't quite get back all the way there. And a lot of the trouble seems to stem with the 61.8. Let's go ahead and put the extension on. And notice how once you take this trade and you break through this area, the very first extension, 161, gets hit. And then eventually you hit the second and the third and the fourth extensions. So you could have taken off bits and pieces along the way. Every time you hit a target, you move up one extension, or you move to break even and take a quarter off and let the next one go, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, it's one of those deals where you do have to be patient if you want the big returns. But the short-term scalps happen pretty quickly. Here's a double top here. So were there any signs of trouble? Well, yeah. I mean, the MACD is way up here, but further analysis could be done through the prism of, what are the longer term charts doing? Well, we're right here at an area that's been important multiple times. You look at this longer term kind of trend here. Where are we in the fib sequence? Well, right here, just under the 50%. Then we just kind of take off from there. We retrace the entire move, which of course makes sense. That quite often will happen. So we bounce back and then we go back to where we were to continue the trend. You can also make an argument that, you can do the fib extension after this massive spike to the downside. You can see we broke down. So you see this double top and you see the market rolling over. Well, you missed the double top, but you can see where the market wants to go and it keeps you in. So that's a nice little addition to even when you do miss the initial move. Double tops are very simple. And I would tell you this, another secret to trading double tops, when they get broken, like you go way above it, that's normally a sign the market's going to keep going. So it's a failed pattern. Failed patterns sometimes are just as powerful as the usual pattern. So in the next video, we'll take a look at a pattern that a lot of traders like called the head shoulders pattern.